I mentioned and like I promised earlier, we want to have a discussion here in studio. Joining me right now is Kavins Onditi. He is a governance expert. Of course, he's going to be talking to us about this particular topic, but also remember that online we will be, of course, continuing with our discussion. Just talk to us about what you feel right now about the opposition. Quite a number of tweets I'm getting. Keep them coming, and I'll continue to sample them here on the show. All right, good morning. How are you doing? It's been such a long time. It's great to see you.
And that's why you are calling Owidi Onditi.
I guess it's been such a
I know you
quite
me,
some
but it's
time.
okay. We'll deal with it.
We'll deal with it off the
Yes.
camera. But thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yes. So, of course, the big question right now, before even this meeting between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta happened, there was a bit of discomfort even in NASA before. You'll remember during the parliamentary committees when they were selecting a number of people who will be what in which committee. There was quite a number of issues there raised, and you could see already infighting in NASA. Whatever we're seeing right now, do you think it's going to have a big impact on just how NASA will hold moving forward?
There are many things we will need to appreciate in the current political dispensation.
Mm-hmm.
First, people have been complaining that now that Raila has had a truce with Uhuru Kenyatta, are we really going to have an effective opposition?
Right.
That is something that we need to understand from one perspective. The law as currently we have it, we do not have an official opposition leader. In any case, if the law envisaged that we have an official opposition leader, we would also have him facilitated by the government.
Mm-hmm.
But the actions of the opposition MPs in the assemblies will still continue.
Right.
We don't have a problem. It is about debate. Going back to what you are asking about the infighting within NASA and so on regarding what has just happened, I don't think, again, we have a serious issue. You notice that these coalitions, they are normally election vehicles.
Right.
After we have had elections, their roles become quite minimal. You remember Mwai Kibaki went to an election with NAC that was cobbled by Raila Odinga a few weeks, in fact, a few months just to the elections. And it did the job. After that, it was moribund, so to say. In the 2007 elections again, few weeks to the elections, PNU came up and it did the job. Now, until the next general election, I think it's not something we can cry about. If it is there, we work with it. If it is not there, we move on. When elections will be near, we will have the strength and adrenaline to put up another coalition.
Another coalition?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so now I'm seeing quite a number of people asking, Betty, what do you mean by opposition? Do you mean NASA or do you mean Third Way Alliance or do you mean Ekuru or CORD? I think that is also another issue that we have to put on the table. Who is who?
We have to distinguish between opposition and official opposition. If we go to the assembly, we have somebody called the leader of minority. Basically, that is the leader of the official opposition. That is de facto. But talking about Ekuru or CORD, I think that is political comedy. We don't need to talk about him. The guy does not even have one MCA or MP anywhere. So,
but he ran, during the elections.
How many people ran? Many. So I think he will not be effective as a member of the. Where will we hear him? In press conferences or in the village during funerals? Where? So I think for Ekuru Aukot to call himself official opposition, I think is comedy. We need to ignore him and give him the contempt card.
Interesting. Going back to NASA, yesterday even during the press briefing that was given by Musalia Mudavadi, and of course there's still a lot of discomfort within the coalition. Which way forward? But do you think that this, like I asked before, do you think it will hold moving forward? Now that still Raila Odinga seems still tight-lipped on what really was the information and the discussions he had with Uhuru Kenyatta.
We need to go back and look at the history of negotiations. All negotiations must be kicked off by a pair of people. Two people, it can't be everyone. I remember in the 1987 when the South African government began to talk to Mandela. Mandela himself, not even his colleagues, he had 4 colleagues. I think there was Andrew, there was Kathy, there was Walter, and somebody else, Walter Sizulu and somebody else. They were 4. And they were with Mandela in prison. But still Mandela began the negotiations alone. Then he romped in them step by step. Because somebody has to lead. And when you are leading, you take responsibility for the others. If by the time you get to them and explain to them what you have been trying to do, they don't agree, you negotiate. If they don't agree at all, then you abandon it. But you can't stop a negotiations that has been mooted because some people need to be there on day one. That is not how to do negotiations. 2 people must meet first on behalf of the rest. That's why there's something called leadership. Somebody must be in front to meet the enemy or the other side first before we move on.
Right.
So I think complaining that Raila Odinga met Uhuru without them, I think they are being dishonest. More so, we cannot have partners who are only there when something good is about to come. But when people are fighting for more serious issues, they are not there. I remember...
What do you mean by that? Because Musalia Mudavadi is still talking about the issues that were there and the issues that resulted to this stalemate, the electoral injustices, equality for all. He's still talking about those issues.
Said, he's just talking. He's doing nothing about it. I remember we had asked them one day to come to the Laiko Regency so that we can have a fundraising for our supporters who were injured or died during the electioneering period. They did not appear, and they did not complain of not being there. One morning also we said, let us all go to the city mortuary, help these people transport the bodies of our supporters who died or got injured home. They did not appear there. Nobody complained. We didn't even complain that they were not there. In fact, incidentally, it is not just the principals who are not there. Even MPs from their political parties were not there. Trying to say that we had a lot of problems during the committees and those elections, and they did not get their right. Let me tell you, the last one that we went through was this one called PSC. You remember, there were 3 for NASA. And one slot went, I think, to ODM, the other one to Wiper, and the other one to ANC. Yet when you look at it, ODM has about 62 MPs. And all the other parties combined, I think, has about 42. Yet we still thought that it was necessary that we share these seats equally.
All right.
So I think whenever they complain about ODM taking everything, they never go back to tell the people. However, ODM has the majority everywhere. Here we have Wiper, that its stronghold is southern eastern, isn't it? I think so. And they are what we call counties. The county that should be the center of Wiper's stronghold is Machakos. And the governor is not from Wiper. When you go to ANC and Ford Kenya, the county that should be the center of their stronghold is Kakamega, and the governor is ODM. Even in their own strongholds, they don't bring much to NASA. Yet they demand equal treatment. And we have tried to give them equal treatment.
But when the coalition was being formed, they were all equal partners. There was all these issues that you're raising have just come after, the elections, right? One of the things that Musalia Mudavadi and the other partners are saying is that they feel betrayed because they say that Jubilee, I don't know how true this is, that they allegedly approached them, individually before this happened. But, they stuck to their gun. They gave this information out. They spoke about it. But it seems that, Raila Odinga, when he was able to speak to Uhuru Kenyatta, he kept everything under wraps.
I'm trying to run my head through these times when they said Uhuru approached them. And everybody was approached through the campaign, publicly, that join us, leave that alone. That will happen. That is campaign gimmick. But if they had a formal request from Jubilee to join them, that we never had. And when you tell us that when they started the NASA, they were equal partners. At the beginning of every contest, the contestants are equal partners. At the end of the contest, then you know who is the winner and who is the loser, who has more flag and who doesn't have. So at the end of the electioneering period, now we know that ANC, Wiper, and Ford Kenya and ODM were not entirely equal partners. Some had more support than others. Nevertheless, we have tried as much as possible to treat them as equal partners. That we call them principals, just like we call Raila Odinga. We call them party leaders, like we call him. So I don't think they should complain.
All right. So then, where does the future lie, for NASA?
The future lying for NASA is for the other co-principal to appreciate that in this coalition, Raila Odinga is the leader and he can do things on behalf of the other leaders.
Without consulting them.
Then they go back and agree. Okay, let's not say do. Start. Let's say he can start. Starting negotiation. In fact, they are not even started negotiations. I remember after that speech, they said now they are forming a committee that now will see the way forward. And I think that is the best Raila could do.
All right.
I don't think he agreed with Uhuru Kenyatta on anything, that this is what we are going to get, this is what the other people are going to get. Nothing was like that.
All right. So for you, you feel like the other co-principals should just wait until, they're told, okay, this is the direction that we're taking. That is from the leader, Raila Odinga.
Yesterday, they had a meeting, I am sure. They brought in their fears, and Raila Odinga brought in his fears, and they put them together and agreed on the way forward. But let us not be enslaved to this coalition. If the coalition cannot work, because some people can only be part of it when things are easy and not be part of it when there are fears ahead, when the road is rough ahead, then we can always form another one in the future. But if,
another coalition?
Yeah. Remember, when we went to the last general election, Uhuru Kenyatta went as a TNA candidate. When we went for this other one, he went as a Jubilee candidate. When Mwai Kibaki went for the first election, he went as a NAC candidate. When he went for the next, he went as a PNU candidate. So there is nothing wrong going as a candidate of a different coalition in the next election, if it can't work. In any case, running these coalitions is very expensive for 5 years. And it's not only expensive in terms of the finances required, it is also expensive in terms of putting people together to always agree on one thing, to always call meetings so that people can agree on a single issue.
All right. Do you think that this discomfort and disquiet, among the principals, has a lot to do with succession politics? Who will succeed from Raila Odinga? And now things seem to just, not be as clear as probably they were before this meeting between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga.
But that is what we want the public to believe. That is what they are making the public believe. But I think the biggest issue is who was going to start working with the government first. That is the issue.
It was who?
Yes, I am sure the other three, having ran away from Uhuru Park when they were needed most, were already talking with the Jubilee to see how they can work together. Jubilee wasn't just in a hurry to work with somebody with 20 MPs or 10 MPs, to work with somebody who cannot pull a crowd at Uhuru Park. So when it was now possible to work with Raila Odinga, Jubilee took it very fast and very quickly and ran for them. So they were already feeling that this is what we have been planning to do. This guy has beaten us to it. So I think we need to complain. Because when I heard Barack Muluka complain about Raila and ODM and cook up some stories that, if you scrutinize them, did not add up, I knew there was something. If you look at Mudavadi's key statement, I will tell you. I will remind you, not tell you, remind you. If you look at Mudavadi's key statement, he was always referring to NASA and saying, Raila Odinga talked to Uhuru on a personal basis. Of course, a leader must first talk personally before he roams in the organization he leads. And if you look at Wiper just said they were not consulted. That means Mudavadi's key thing in this whole thing is to cling to NASA. He feels the ownership of NASA. He feels that NASA is his brainchild that he would want to inherit in the future. In the best case scenario, if at all we are to talk about the future of NASA and the future leadership of it, Kalonzo should take the first shot, not Mudavadi.
All right. I want us to leave the politics for a bit and just, concentrate on the issues that Raila Odinga was agitating for before this this meeting, this controversial, this welcomed meeting between him and President Uhuru Kenyatta. Of course, he was agitating for a number of things. Went ahead to have the People's Assembly, created. Now it's suspended, and the people who were rallying behind him and believed in whatever he was agitating for, they believed in, the campaigns and all these things that he was, talking about and campaigning for. So what happens to that?
We must appreciate that if there were political geniuses in Kenya, Raila Odinga would be one of them. Some of these things you are talking that he was agitating for were just tools he was using to achieve what he's about to achieve. They were tools he was using. The People's Assembly, all that were tools he was trying to use to come into a position where he can take his people to where they would want to go. We must learn that if you are trying to get to the sun and you discover you have basically missed it, land at the moon, you will have to rest. We cannot say that Raila Odinga was agitating for People's Assembly. What has he done about it? It is some of those things that he was agitating for that has now made him become relevant enough to come and sit with Uhuru Kenyatta, and then they agree on the way forward of running Kenya. Kenya is like a giant boat that initially they were fighting of who was to be the captain. Finally, Uhuru Kenyatta became the captain. Whatever way he used, that is not a point of discussion as of now. But now that Uhuru Kenyatta has become the captain of this large ship called Kenya, and then he discovered that he would need Raila Odinga's help to steer this ship forward, and he has called for him, and Raila Odinga has actually accepted. I think it's a good thing that we all need to celebrate. It is wrong for us to sit in this large ship. If it is sinking with all Kenyans, including Raila Odinga's supporters, and he would sit back and watch this ship sink with all of us.
All right, so you're saying even because on my Twitter handle right now, there are people who are saying, Raila is already in government. So who's going to speak for, his supporters who are...
The problem is the level of understanding of majority of Kenyans. I can tell you for free that 90% of Kenyans do not understand the structure of governance, the structure of politics. They don't understand. So the moment that Uhuru and Raila went together, spoke and agreed on certain issues of the way forward, there were people saying that Raila has already defected into Jubilee. That is not the case. There were people talking that he's now part of Jubilee. That is not the case. He has only accepted that they need to work with Uhuru Kenyatta for the sake of this ship reaching the other side, for the sake of governing this country. He is not part of Jubilee. He has not defected. He will not defect. He's only accepting to work with him, to agree. Because in any case, even without this dialogue that is going to come, every Kenyan deserves a piece of Kenya. But because of the bitterness after the election, the people in government may even be feeling that some people who come from certain places don't deserve any piece of Kenya. So Raila Odinga looks at it and says, me, as Raila Odinga, I have enough for me. I don't need anything from probably even the government. But what about my people? If speaking to Uhuru Kenyatta can make my people get their share in this government, why don't I do it? And he did it. And I think that is wisdom.
We have to wrap up. Well, we'll see how this plays out in the next. I'm sure this next couple of days and months is going to be very interesting. Thank you very much, Kevin Sowidi, for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Betty.
Yes, thank you very much for that. So we'd like to hear your thoughts. Remember that we're still discussing the same thing online. We're really asking you just what you feel or how effective do you feel the opposition will be, with that truce between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. Talk to me. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Hashtag GTN News Center or at Betty M. Kialo. So we want to take a short commercial break, but coming up shortly, we will be taking a look at the issue to do with commercial space leasing. Our business anchor Abby Agina will be in studio with me in a few minutes to steer that conversation. Let's just wait for that. Coming up shortly. Don't go away.
This is KTN News.